What's up guys, and today we'll react into More Stories Part 2. Sit back and relax like you did with the last video. I hope you guys enjoyed it. Sit back and relax.
Brother looked me dead in the eye and said, "The only superpower you have is being annoying." I slammed the front door and ran down the street. I was 6 blocks from home, still crying, when a white van pulled up beside me. Before I could react, the door slid open and a man in a ski mask grabbed my arm. "Don't make a sound." He yanked me into the back seat, locked the doors, and pulled onto the highway. I pressed myself against the window and watched my neighborhood disappear. I begged him to let me go, but he just laughed. That's when I heard my brother's voice in my head. "The only superpower you have is being annoying." I wiped my face on my sleeve and scooted forward. "Did you know that a group of flamingos is called a flamboyance?" He told me to shut up. "I just thought you would want to know." He said nothing, so I sang the SpongeBob theme twice, replacing every other word with the word Bologna. His knuckles went white on the wheel. "Do you have any snacks?" He said no. "That's kind of rude." I demonstrated my loose tooth with my tongue for a full minute. "Are we going to your lair? Is that where you keep the snacks?" I started crying for real because I hadn't fed my fish Gerald before I left. He asked who Gerald was. "He's my fish." He said Gerald would be fine. "You don't know that." I cried louder. He cranked the radio to drown me out. Then I sneezed and accidentally spit on the back of his neck. He pulled over so fast the tires scraped the curb. He got out, opened my door, and pointed down the road. "Your neighborhood is that way. Go." I climbed out. "Wait," I said. He froze. "Do you want to know what a group of owls is called?" He got in without closing the door and floored it. I watched him run a red light getting out of the neighborhood. When I got home, my brother was still on the couch. I walked straight past him. "You were right," I said. "It is a superpower." Gerald was fine. In drama class, our teacher forced us to play the divider game, and the outcome was the craziest thing in school history. The teacher explained the rules. 2 people sit across from each other with a divider between them. Round 1, you say what item you have. Round 2, you prove it. Round 3, you demonstrate it. But remember, it's an acting game. Your job is to figure out if they're telling the truth or acting. The quietest kid in the back immediately raised his hand to play. We were all shook because he never spoke. He walked up, grabbed something out of his backpack, and sat behind the divider. The teacher smiled. "What do you have?" He looked at her. "I have a gun." The kid across from him looked terrified. He quickly said, "I have scissors." He proved it by snipping something behind the divider. The teacher turned back to the quiet kid. "Your turn. Prove you have a gun without showing us." A loud thunk echoed through the room. Heavy, metal. The kid next to me whispered, "He has to be acting. It can't be a real gun." But another girl grabbed her bag ready to run. The teacher laughed nervously. "Is that from the prop closet?" "No, I brought it from home." The teacher looked scared. "Okay, round 3. Demonstrate what it does." Everyone flinched. He held it up above the divider. An actual gun. He pointed at the wall. The whole class went behind their desks, screaming. The teacher put her hands up. "The game is over. Put that down. Now." He shook his head. Round 3. Everyone else had to demonstrate. "What do guns do?" She shook her head. He put his finger on the trigger. "It's your game. Say it." Kids started to cry. The teacher was shaking. Then she said, "Shoot it." I closed my eyes thinking I was going to die. I heard a loud bang. The teacher dropped to the floor. Kids were screaming, saying they didn't deserve to die. But then I felt something soft landing on my face. I thought it was blood and touched it. But when I opened my eyes, I saw confetti everywhere. Confetti came out of the gun. The teacher looked at him with awe. He took a bow. "You said it was an acting game. Now does anyone have a recording so I can send it to Netflix?" The quietest kid in our class turned out to be the best actor in our drama class. I climbed into my bed with a grin, feeling my jeans press against the duvet covers. My dad came over and leaned against my door. "I'm sorry I said no to you going to the party, son, but I know the kids there. It's too dangerous." He walked back to his room, and I instantly got up from the covers. I laced up my Jordans and climbed out my window the second I heard snoring. I walked into that party and was immediately surrounded by college kids twice my size. I grabbed a red cup and filled it with juice to fit in, then pulled out my phone to take pictures so I could show everyone how cool I was. Then I heard yelling in the backyard. I walked over with loose legs to seem nonchalant and saw 2 people punching each other. I put my hands up and yelled, "Fight," like everyone else, but then a gunshot rang out, then another one. The music stopped and everyone started running. I got knocked to the floor and dozens of feet instantly stampeded me, stepping on my head, my fingers and my legs. My red cup spilled and ruined my Jordans as more gunshots echoed around me. I laid on the floor, afraid I was going to die, when I spotted a bathroom. I crawled into it and shut the door quietly as I could, but another gunshot sounded out just outside. I pulled out my phone with trembling hands. "Dad, I'm so sorry. I snuck out to the party. There's someone here shooting and I'm hiding in a bathroom." bathroom. Please help. I instantly heard him running and grabbing his car keys. I'm coming right now. He hung up, and I pressed my knees to my chest, listening to the sound of reloading outside. Then headlights swung through the window. Dad was running barefoot into the house in his pajamas. I heard him scream my name, but then a gunshot cracked outside. Something dropped, and my whole body locked up. I went to scream Dad, but I caught myself, and suddenly, the handle started rattling. I curled up into a ball, arms over my head, thinking this was it. But then Dad opened the door. Blood dripped from the bullet wound in his arm, but he just pulled me to my feet. We walked past the attacker, who was now laying on the floor, and when we got in the car, he peeled out, driving one-handed in total silence. The bullet stayed lodged in his injured arm. I looked at him, not saying a word, and just broke. I'm sorry, Dad. I'm so sorry. But he just kept his eyes on the road. It's okay, kid. You still called me, even when you knew I'd told you no. That means more to me than you could ever know. He pulled into my favorite diner. I'll always come get you, no matter what. Me and my best friend Jacob were home alone playing Wii Sports when he said, "Did you know if you swing your controller really hard, your shot goes faster?" I grinned and tensed my arm, then swung with all my power. The controller flew out of my hand and flew straight into the urn on the shelf. It smashed on the floor, its ashes going everywhere. Me and Jacob grabbed our heads in panic because that urn belonged to his dad's dog, Casper. Jacob knelt down and began scooping up the ashes. Crap, dude, crap. Dad still says goodnight to that urn every night. He planned to go scatter those ashes at Casper's favorite beach next Friday. We have to fix it. I paused the Wii Sports to help him, and just then, Casper's phone dinged.
Did they really need to send their entire army? I'm only one guy. I guess we need defenses, but this is just a little bit overkill. And look at that, they're already damaging my base. Is this where I finally lose? Nah, I can't let that happen to my—
Back in 10 minutes, kid. Can you make sure the candle by Casper's urn is still lit? My legs bucked, and Jacob said, "I'll get the glue." He ran so fast to get it, he tripped and fell, and we scrambled to glue the urn back together. But the pieces were barely fitting and struggling to stay still, and I held the glued urn together while Jacob scooped the ashes into it. We placed the urn back on the shelf just as the front door opened. I could see the urn barely holding on, the cracks still visible, but Jacob's dad immediately narrowed his eyes at me. "Why do you keep looking over at the shelf?" I gulped, and my legs shook. No reason. His dad put down his keys and slowly walked over to the shelf, examining the urn. "Did you touch it?" Sweat dripped from my forehead as I replied, "No, sir." He placed one hand on it and closed his eyes, muttering something. My whole body froze watching him, but the urn stayed intact. He walked away from it, and I exhaled. I immediately announced, "I gotta go," and started walking out. In disbelief, I'd done it. But while walking by the shelf, a fly landed on my nose. I went to swat it, and my hand accidentally clipped the urn. I couldn't catch it fast enough, and it shattered right in front of Jacob's dad. The ashes landed at his feet. He just looked at me with a blank face and pointed at the door. "You have 3 seconds to get out." I never visited Jacob's house again. I went to the bank with my big brother when he pulled a weapon out of his bag. "Everyone get on the effing ground, now!" Everyone but me instantly ducked down to the floor because they thought it was a real robbery. I instantly panicked and shoved him. "What the hell are you doing? We just came to deposit a check. I didn't even know you carried a gun." He didn't respond and just stared at the teller behind the glass with his barrel raised. I followed his gaze and saw there was a hooded man hiding behind the teller with a gun pressed to the teller's hip. I gasped as I realized the hooded man had been holding him hostage, and my brother was the only one to notice. "Drop it!" my brother roared, sliding across the marble to protect him. The whole bank screamed, including me, and they all curled up, all scared for their lives. Suddenly, the hooded man's gun swung off the teller and rose toward my brother's chest. My brother wasn't lifting his gun fast enough to defend himself, and I knew if I didn't do something, then he'd get shot. So I screamed at the top of my lungs, "Hey, over here!" And the gun snapped toward me. For half a second, I was staring straight down the barrel. The man's fingers went to squeeze the trigger, and I closed my eyes. Bang! But nothing hit me. And when I opened my eyes, I saw the banging sound was my brother hitting the man like a truck. Heads lifted off the tile as people slowly began to realize what was going on. When the police finally arrived, my brother put his arm around my shoulder. "You trusted me, and that's the only reason I'm still standing." I was in prison playing cards when an 18-year-old kid walked through the door with a big smile on his face. "Anybody here see me on the news?" Nobody answered. He leaned against the wall with his arms crossed. "3 kids killed in a school shooting. That was me." He said it the way someone might say they won a trophy. I watched every face in the room go cold because prison has its own rules, and he had already broken one. You do not celebrate hurting innocent people. I put my cards down and smirked because things were about to get interesting. The next morning, he carried his food tray to the nearest table and sat down. down. Mind if I join you? Every man stood up without a word and moved to a different table. That evening, 4 men blocked him in the hallway when he was walking back from the showers. He tried to swing first, but it didn't go well for him. He spent 2 weeks in the medical wing. When he came back, he kept his eyes down and walked close to the walls, but it did not help because there was nowhere to hide in a place like this. A lot of the guys started using him as a punching bag, but some took it even further and made him a walking toilet. He was to be available whenever and wherever for whatever we wanted. He went to the guards and filed a complaint, but nobody had seen anything, and nobody ever would. That's when he realized no one was going to save him. He started sleeping with one eye open and flinching every time someone walked past his bunk. 2 years later, we were playing cards again when we heard the guards had caught him trying to climb over the outer fence with a rope he made from his bed sheets. They transferred him to a higher security prison where the men are even less forgiving. I laughed. Good. A huge gust of wind knocked my son through the gap in the railing, and I watched him fall. I looked over at the 100-foot drop and saw him hurtling through the sky, but the hood of his onesie caught on a steel beam below the bridge deck. He dangled mid-air while the onesie pulled tight against his throat, suffocating him. He was too far away for me to reach, and the structure of the bridge blocked me from climbing down. My son's face started turning red, and his leg kicks got weaker by the second, but the people at the bottom sprinted to the spot directly under him. A man dropped to his hands and knees and urged others to do the same. A huge crowd instantly started forming a giant human pyramid. More and more people dropped what they were doing to help and fearlessly climbed on each other no matter how high it got. The pyramid kept growing, and someone climbed to the top and reached my son. He was blue in the face, but they took him off the beam and held him for minutes while he regained his breath. I pressed the trigger on my controller and got the headshot kill. Victory Royale flashed on my screen and I started celebrating when suddenly my microphone crackled. "You're trash. You got lucky. It was the player I just eliminated." I replied, "Shut up, nerd." But then he said, "My dad works for Microsoft. I'm getting you banned." I just laughed, "Whatever, buddy," and loaded up another game. But right as I was about to open my first chest, a "You've been kicked" notice appeared on my screen. I just shrugged and thought it was a glitch. But when I tried to start a new match, my screen flashed, "This account is banned." I got slightly worried, and when I backed out, my whole Xbox account was locked. I couldn't play anything. My heart dropped, and suddenly I heard my mom shouting from her office, "What is going on?" I ran in and saw her frantically typing her work password for the 100th time. She was crying. "I'm closing the deal in 20 minutes. This is the biggest payday of my career, and for some reason my account is banned." I went pale, as I remembered my whole family used the same Microsoft account. If the kid's dad banned me, he banned my whole family. Mom asked if I knew what was happening, but I gulped and just shook my head no, my hands shaking. I slipped out into the hallway, and that's when I remembered my history assignment worth 40% of my grade, due at midnight. It was already done, I just needed to submit it. I pulled out my phone and opened the Gmail app to send the assignment, but a giant red "account suspended" tag stared me in the face. My face dropped as I slid down the wall, and my eyes filled with tears when I heard the front door slam open. My dad came home, his face white and eyes red. He said, "My Microsoft business account is banned. I can't pay my employees, and I can't pay my distributor." He threw an invoice.
Be honest, how many books do you have lying around the house that you're never going to read again? With World of Books, you can sell your unwanted books. They reuse and resell them so they don't end up in landfill, and they'll pay you for them. I'm talking old revision
On the table. "If I don't pay my distributor within 3 hours, I'm getting sued for 60 grand. He started rocking back and forth, clutching his chest. I started crying because mom's life-changing payday, dad's business, and my own grade were all ruined because I told some kid on Fortnite to shut up. I bolted upstairs and turned on my Xbox, my hands shaking. The ban notice popped up, but I saw my recent players widget was loaded in the corner, and the kid's gamertag was still there. I wiped my tears and opened Instagram, searching the gamertag. He came up instantly, his Fortnite character as his profile picture. I typed the most desperate apology I'd ever written. "You're the GOAT. I'm so sorry for calling you a nerd. Please tell your dad to unban me. My family is going to lose everything." I hit send, fully regretting my life choices. Before I decided to take my own life, I wanted to make sure that it was actually what I wanted. So I found a man online who would bury me alive in his backyard for 30 minutes to see if I actually enjoyed it. He had me sign a handwritten waiver on a piece of notebook paper, pointed at a coffin that was already deep in the ground, and said, "Knock 3 times and I'll let you out." I nodded and climbed into the coffin. 30 minutes underground, and I would finally know the answer. The man closed the lid, and when I heard the first shovel of dirt hit the wood above my face, my whole body tensed up. I couldn't do it anymore. I wanted to live. Adrenaline filled my stomach and shot straight through my hands, pressing against the lid. Knock, knock, knock. But instead of letting me out, the man started laughing to himself. "Hell no, I'm not letting you out." That's when I finally realized how screwed I was. I had driven to a stranger's house, house, climbed into a coffin, and nobody knew where I was. I knew I only had 25 minutes until the oxygen ran out. The wood creaked under the weight of the dirt, and I made myself breathe slowly as I thought about all the people that might be sad that I was dead. The list was longer than I expected. 15 minutes left. I thought about my dog's face when I walked through the door, that joy that always made my day better. I wanted to be alive more than ever. I rubbed my hands together and pushed against the box as hard as I could. Boom! The lid flew open. I sat up so fast I headbutted him in the chin. I climbed out and stood in his backyard feeling more awake than I had in months. He rubbed his jaw and looked at me with the same flat expression he had worn the entire time. I knew you'd make it out by yourself. I just wanted you to be forced to think about how beautiful life is before you did. I drove home, fed my dog, and called my therapist for the first time in 4 months. It was the last week of school, and our bus was completely out of control that morning. Music blasting and homework flying through the air. "Sit down!" Mr. Carter's voice cracked over the intercom, but we barely heard him over our chaos. He missed the first turn for school, and we laughed, but when he did not turn around, everyone stopped smiling. "Mr. C, school's that way," Jenna called out. He kept driving with his foot pressing harder on the gas, and his eyes locked straight ahead, like we weren't even there. We'd finally pushed the grumpiest bus driver in the district over the edge. Jenna started shaking. "Oh my God, he's kidnapping us." He swung onto the highway on ramp and merged so hard that kids grabbed the seats in front of them and someone in the back started crying. Jenna ran up to the front of the bus, gripping the seats as he swerved between lanes. "Please, Mr. Carter, we're sorry. Just take us to school." We tore through a Walmart parking lot, cutting between cars. Then he sped onto some back road with trees on both sides and no houses anywhere. Police lights appeared behind us. Instead of pulling over, he went even faster. A boy in the back screamed, "Yo, he's running from the cops." The intercom clicked on. "Jenna, call 911 right now." Jenna was crying. "What? The cops are literally right behind us." He punched the steering wheel. "Just do it. Tell them we're on the back road behind the Walmart, and there is a black Ford Explorer trying to pull us over." Jenna dialed with shaking hands and told the dispatcher exactly what Mr. Carter had told him to. Then he asked, "They said that isn't a real cop and not to pull over. The real police are almost here." A minute later, we watched through the back window as real police cars boxed the Explorer in and forced it to pull over. Mr. Carter pulled over and sat there with both hands still on the wheel and his whole body shaking. Then he turned to face all of us. "We got a notice this morning about a fake cop near the schools, and when I saw that Explorer following us, I knew something was off." A tear rolled down his cheek. "I'm sorry I scared you. You're all my kids." It was the first time any of us had ever seen him cry. I was mid-lesson playing with my Gorilla Glue when an announcement blared, "Lockdown, lockdown. This is not a drill." A gunshot echoed down the hall, and we all immediately ducked under the tables. I felt like I was going to pass out, and the kid next to me peed his pants. Our teacher tiptoed to the door, and his face went pale. "He's coming to us. Everybody hide." He locked the door, but suddenly the handle started rattling. "Open up." The shooter kicked our door, then kicked again, and I could see the wood around the handle start to splinter. My classmates were crying and praying with their hands together because the shooter was about to come in, and we had no way out. That's when I saw the teacher running to my desk. He grabbed my Gorilla Glue and ran back to the splintering door, shouting, "Smash the windows and leave. The door won't hold. It's been an honor teaching you." We grabbed our chairs and began smashing the windows as the kicking sound continued, and when I looked back, Mr. Rogers was pouring my entire tube of Gorilla Glue onto his palms. He was muttering something under his breath and shaking violently. He pressed his glue-filled palms to either side of the door and stood in the doorway like a human shield, looking at the sky like these were his last moments on Earth. The door splintered open right as I started climbing out, and I immediately heard gunshots. I turned back for just a split second, and my legs went numb because Mr. Rogers had been sprayed with bullets. His body was limp, but he was still blocking the doorway because of the Gorilla Glue on his palms. The shooter was pushing and trying to get into the classroom, but couldn't. I climbed out the window right as Mr. Rogers' body hit the floor. The shooter ran in, but we were gone. Mr. Rogers chose to never come home to his family again, just to make sure we could come home to ours. I was sitting in class when the principal's voice cracked over the intercom. "This is a lockdown. I repeat, this is not a drill.
Growing your business can feel daunting. Managing your team's expenses shouldn't. That's why we introduced Tide Expense Cards. We'll take care of the ordinary so you can be extraordinary. Tide members can order Tide Expense Cards for their team at the tap of a button, like Kate here. Stay in control while empowering your team to be unstoppable. You can even sync
Go. Take it seriously. I'm not wasting my class time on this. Jace kept shoving his desk forward. Dude, we're supposed to follow lockdown protocol. The substitute pushed him back down into his seat. I've been teaching since before your parents were born, and I know a drill when I hear one. Anyone who touches that door gets written up, and I'll personally make sure you never get into college. Through the window, every classroom down the hall had its lights off and its blinds pulled. The principal said it wasn't a drill. The sub said it was, and I wasn't about to bet my life finding out which one of them was right. A girl's phone lit up. Oh my God, my boyfriend just texted that 2 teachers are gone. We need to get somewhere safe now. Everyone started checking their phones. My friend just saw the secretary run by covered in blood. The substitute started ripping phones out of our hands and throwing them in his desk drawer. You're all morons. Your generation can't tell what's real because you're all brain dead from TikTok. Then the door handle started shaking and we heard someone breathing heavy on the other side. I'm going to find them all. The substitute waved his hand. That's administrators checking doors. Jace stood up and started pushing his desk again. I am not dying because you are on a power trip. The substitute grabbed his shirt to try to stop him, but Jace shoved him into the whiteboard. Touch me again and I'll knock your dentures out. 5 kids threw desks against the door and everyone crammed into the corner. Then we killed the lights. The substitute stood in the middle of the room screaming about assault until Jace slapped his hand over his mouth. Shut up or you will get us killed. 3 of us pinned him to the floor while the door shook and the barricade slid 3 inches across the tile. I know you're in there. He kicked our door twice before moving on. Then we heard glass breaking and kids screaming from the room next door. When the SWAT team found us 30 minutes later, 3 of us were still pinning the substitute to the floor. The shooter had made it into the main office and the classroom next door, where 2 kids died because they couldn't barricade their door in time. The only reason it wasn't our room is that we stopped listening to him. He was arrested for child endangerment and banned from working with children for the rest of his life. I found out which one of them was right. So did the 2 kids next door who never made it home. Every winter, my dad used to take me ice fishing on the same frozen lake. He'd drill a hole near the edge and hoist his fishing rod, then ruffle my hair and say, "Don't ever drill your hole near the middle sun. That's how you fall in." I smiled and did like he said, only ever fishing near the edge. But then one summer, Dad simply vanished. I cried for months, and as the years went on, accepted I'd never see him again. But then 20 years later, my 8-year-old son wanted to go fishing. I looked at my dad's old rod I never threw out, and picked it up for the first time in 2 decades. I took my son to the same frozen lake and sat at the edge smiling, because my best childhood memories were flooding back to me. I told my son, "Your granddad taught me to always drill at the edge, never the middle." I drilled into the ice, showing him how it's done just like my dad showed me. But the second I looked away, my son took off running towards the middle with the ice auger. He was going to drill a hole in the middle. My face dropped in panic as I heard my dad's words. "Don't drill near the middle. That's how you fall in." I stood up to run to my son because I couldn't lose someone else, but that's when he suddenly stopped and pointed at the ice near the middle. "Dad, I see something under the ice." My stomach sank, and when I went over, I saw the shape of a car underneath the ice. An arm was dangling through the open window, and this terrible gut feeling washed over me. I immediately called police with shaking hands, all while my son kept asking what it was. The police towed the car up onto the ice, and I saw the body inside. I couldn't make out who, but I was sweating, and my legs were shaking. But my son just looked around with this curious, excited face, because nobody had told him anything. That's when the cop walked over with a grim expression. "The body belongs to your dad's old co-worker. He went missing the same week your dad disappeared." My legs buckled, and I asked what this meant. The cop looked down and pulled out a sealed bag with a knife. "We found a murder weapon in the car. Your dad's fingerprints were on it. I'm so sorry, but your dad killed this man. It's most likely why he disappeared." I looked at the cop, then at my son's smile vanishing as it hit him. His granddad was a murderer. My legs gave out, and I dropped to the ice. I finally understood why my dad told me to never drill near the middle. I was sprinting down the middle of the street when Turner threw himself into a slide and his hand caught my ankle. "Tag, you're frozen! Damn it!" I yelled. But a tag was a tag, so I locked up mid-stride with one arm stuck out like a statue. I spun around looking for one of my friends to come unfreeze me, but they were nowhere to be found. That's when I saw the headlights. My heart skipped a beat and my whole body started shaking, but I was frozen solid and couldn't move a muscle. If nobody came to unfreeze me, I was going to get run over. The engine roared as the truck came barreling straight down the road at me. Through the windshield, I could see the driver's head down and both thumbs flying across his phone, not slowing for a second. Turner was screaming at me from the curb. "Move! Just move!" I tried to throw myself out of the way, but my body wouldn't budge, my foot still frozen up in the air. "I can't, Turner. My legs won't move. You froze me!" The horn blasted as it closed in, and I started bawling. "Somebody unfreeze me!" But there was no one left in the street. The truck was so close, the ground was rumbling under me. I squeezed my eyes shut with the tears pouring down my face. My arms still locked out like a statue, and I screamed it one more time. time. I'm frozen! Then out of nowhere, I felt something slam into my side, knocking the scream out of my mouth. Greg had tackled me clean out of the road, and the second he hit me, I was unfrozen. The truck roared past so close, it blew the grass flat, the driver never once looking up from his phone. I was sobbing, alive, finally able to move, when Turner came running over and tagged us both. "You're frozen!" Greg and I locked up stiff in the grass, face to face, and screamed it at the exact same time. Damn it! Neither of us moved an inch. "Please be careful. My dad can be very intense." My girlfriend gripped my shoulder as we rang the doorbell. This was 1971, and I had no idea how her dad would react seeing his daughter with a black guy. His face was unreadable, and when I went to shake his hand, he ignored me and told us to come in. I felt sweat beating down my forehead as we sat, and he looked at me like if I made one wrong move, he'd use the pistol at his hip. "Sir, it's nice to..." "Be quiet," he interrupted me and leaned forward. "Susie, does he make you happy?" Her legs shook as she took my hand. "Yes, Dad. I want to marry him." I felt my heart skip a beat, but his eyes stayed locked on me. He set his drink down. "If my daughter's happy..."
Designed for high IQ adults. Exercise your brain. No Wi-Fi needed.
Okay, so here's...
"Then I'm happy." He walked away. My legs shook. "You really want to marry me?" Susie nodded through happy tears, but then glass smashed behind us. Two men dressed in slacks and USA shirts pointed at me. "So you're the darky who wants to weasel his way into our town." They held up their knives. "This town is for white folk." Susie shot up. "Please no. I love him." But their eyes turned darker and they smiled at her. "Well then you can die too, darky lover." They walked forward and I stepped in front of Susie to protect her. I felt her trembling behind me, and as the men got closer, I looked around for something to grab. They got closer, and my heart pounded in fear. But then Susie's dad stepped in front of me. "You're not touching them." He wasn't even shaking. The men laughed. "Daryl, really? We used to drink together. Now you're defending their kind?" He pointed at me, but the dad didn't move. "I said you're not touching them." Their faces twisted. "Then I guess you'll die too." They lunged with their knives, and I instantly wrapped Susie in my arms to protect her. But her dad drew his pistol. The shots hit their kneecaps, and they dropped to the floor screaming and bleeding. I was still hyperventilating, holding Susie as she sobbed. Her dad gripped my shoulder. "I'm sorry for being so cold to you earlier, son. I judged you, and I was wrong. But you stepped in front of my daughter to save her. You're a man I'd be proud to call family. I know this is a lot to ask, but can you please